Hello everyone. I'm with Courts, Erin, and Pio. We did a tour of some of the bike lanes in Quezon City, Marikina, Pasig, so we could get a feel of what that looks like in terms of usability, etc. Courts, Jose Cortez, but we call him Courts. I've known Courts for quite a number of years. We work together in the area of good governance, etc. So, Courts, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been bike commuting, I think, since grade 5 when I got my first bike. I biked in high school. So that was in 1991, 95.
Grade school ako no?
So no, no, I don't
Object, Your Honor.
So that makes around 20 years of biking the streets of Metro Manila. So
Wow,
I've
good for you.
seen- I've seen the streets evolve, how it became from a relatively friendly place to bike, safe place to use bicycles, and to what it is now, which we will get into in a little while, and describe it for you. I think I have a very substantial experience in bike commuting here in Manila.
Let's turn over to maybe Ethel. Good morning, Ethel. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your own biking history.
Well, my name is Eta Fortuno. I am 53 years old, so you know that even 50 something women can still bike on the streets. So
How long have you been biking?
I learned how to bike when I was in grade 3. I had to bully my neighbor.
And what kind of biker are you today? Are you a daily commuter? Are you a recreational biker?
I'm a turn user.
A turn user?
Yeah.
What does that mean for the audience that's not familiar?
Turn is the brand that
Okay.
I'm using. It suits me well. Her name is Diwata.
Diwata. Okay, hello Diwata. Beautiful bike. So we'll move over to Pio. Pio, tell us a little bit about yourself and your own biking history.
Okay, I'm Pio, and my biking stories. When I was young, I really wanted to own a bike, but my parents wouldn't have me get one.
They thought it was
Because
dangerous?
my cousin at that time, he got into a biking accident. It's a pretty stupid accident. Yeah, I was promised that I would be bought
A bike.
one. But when that happened, that flew out the window.
So when did you finally get your first bike and when did you first start riding?
Well, I borrowed here and there. And then when I was old enough after college, I was able to buy my own bike. And maybe it's because of that previous incident. I was denied bikes. Now I really have to get a lot of bikes.
Like a lot.
Been there, been done.
He's now collecting bikes.
Okay.
We have around 20 in the house.
Wow. And so are you also a daily commuter?
Yes, when we go out the door, more often than not, we used to ride our bikes.
So ganun din, mga 90% of the time you're on the road, you're on a bike.
Right.
The other
Because
10%.
it's so much easier right now.
And you've been
With the traffic.
you've been a daily commuter also since around 2010, about the same time? Or earlier?
Since
Earlier.
1980.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about what we saw today, the route that you took me, because I was running the camera so we can play that back for our audience later. But we basically started off in Commonwealth near the INC headquarters, went to Quezon Memorial Circle, went to Kalayaan, through, made a left towards Xavierville, worked our way down to Marikina, came up from Marikina, where did we go?
Marcos Highway.
Marcos Highway, and then
Went down to Riverbanks.
Riverbanks.
Going to
Libis.
Libis area C5, then we went inside Eastwood, then Bagumbayan,
Circle of Verde.
Circle of
Did a little
Verde.
side trip in Circle of Verde.
Went back to Amang Rodriguez and Pasig, then
Ortigas Extension.
yeah, through Rosario, went up Ortigas Avenue, made a left, then went up Julio Vargas and ended up here.
So that's good. So let's talk about the different bike lanes in Quezon City. What I noticed in Quezon City was it was on the very side of the road where it was marked. Not always marked. We started off in Commonwealth where it was actually the sidewalk. And then at some point we had to get off the sidewalk back onto the road. Describe to me what you guys think about how would you rate or evaluate the Quezon City bike lane as we saw it today, or as you've seen it?
Well, I think the sidewalk has been there. I think it was not really planned as a bike lane. They just designated it as a bike lane for pogi points.
For pogi points. So it's not really, sa tingin mo parang hindi siya very usable.
No.
Kasi hindi siya
Because
marked eh.
You don't know where it's not marked, although the other side is marked. But then, how do you go to that bike lane? It's at the beginning of the road, there's none, and then it will stop after how many meters? So, for me, it's like a
fake bike lane.
Well, sections of the bike lane, they're really good.
Yeah.
They're wide and the surface is good. But it goes from nowhere to nowhere.
That's the thing. It goes from nowhere to nowhere.
When you reach the end, what happens?
So it's not usable in that sense for like a commuter who needs to get from a home to an office or home to. Hindi siya usable in that sense.
Yeah. Well,
so more recreational maybe.
It's more recreational, but in order to attract recreational riders, you must start from somewhere that's safe and then ends somewhere that's safe.
There was a portion in Kansas City and Kalayaan where it was actually clearly marked. It was even a different color.
Yeah.
And when I was there, I kind of felt a little safe, although there were no physical barricades between us and the moving traffic. I kind of felt a little safe. It was green, if I remember correctly.
Clearly designated for bikes only.
But
in
daming
terms of
nakaparada,
that,
diba? Because
in terms of that, it's safe. It's clearly demarcated. But if you notice, it ate up the road, the lane for motor vehicles.
Yes.
So on a normal day, that bike lane would disappear for bikers.
So that I guess that's a bit of a caveat that we have to tell the viewers. Is today's a Sunday, as I said.
Right.
The traffic is less. It's early morning pa.
Yeah.
We're not encountering the bike lanes as they would be during a normal weekday. Where, as you say, the bike lane is actually eating into the carriageway for the cars. And doon, naglalabanan yung mga kotse tsaka bicycle.
Which is, I think that's good for our purpose, that we were able to identify the areas where there are bike lanes.
And it's not consistent yung problema.
Because on a normal day with heavy traffic, like what Pio said, it will disappear. Literally.
When we got to Marikina, I have to say that the bike lane was a little more contiguous. Yes. It's a little, quite a bit longer, and it guided us pretty much for most of where we were going.
Yeah.
And unlike the Quezon City bike lane, the bike lane is outside the parking area for cars. So you have the cars that are parked along the street, and then the bike lane, and then the carriageway for cars. Is that better or worse?
I think it has to do more with how the street is oriented. Like we went through some streets that's designated only for a one-way traffic.
Right.
So I think for them, it made sense. Like I'm just getting this basic idea that some thought went into designing the bike lanes of Marikina more than those that were in Quezon City.
Yeah.
And for them, putting the bike lane on the left side makes sense somewhat for them. They decided to put it there.
And because the bike lane sits between cars that are parked and the active roadway, you can't actually put physical barricades now because cars will come in and out as they park and etc. So again,
it's like a compromise between the residents and the road users.
And then when we moved from Marikina naman to Pasig,
Let me say something about Marikina.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think
Theo.
it has the best bicycle network in the Philippines because it is extensive. And like what Court said, they made use of one-way streets, and that frees up the lanes, right? Hindi na kasi two-way. So one lane could be for bikers. And Marikina has a strong biking culture. So that really helps.
I think that's important, having a biking culture within a city, because then there's a consciousness, perhaps, that not only that the non-bikers have in terms of respecting the space of bikers.
Another thing that I can say about the biking culture there, like they just built on what people were already doing and
Okay.
just made the system out of it.
Okay.
It's not like they had to, like, unlike Pasig where they really have to deliberately put in bike lanes. In Marikina, they just had to design it in such a way that it made sense for the bikers who are already using the street.
But when we got to Marcos Highway, and this was on the Marikina side, you and I were on the bike lane, which is basically the sidewalk,
On the sidewalk again, like in
Right.
Quezon City,
like in Quezon City.
in Commonwealth.
But it's not that easy because you're encountering driveways, you're encountering side streets, even the ramps on and off to the
Yeah.
sidewalk are very steep. And Pio and Ethel actually ended up on the roadway
Right
because
here
they
on the
felt
road,
it
yeah.
to be more convenient for them because you know. So these are some of the nuances of the bike lane in Marikina. Pagdating natin dito sa Pasig, what do you think of what they have here in Pasig?
I think Pasig has, they're beginning to have better bike lanes. And I think it is smartly done so far.
Uh-huh.
Right? There's a demarcated bike lane on the side, although in some sections the paint fades. Right?
Yeah.
So in terms of that, we still have to, Pasig still needs to have more connectivity, more of a network, because it ends abruptly. But it's a work in progress. So I like what Pasig is doing.
So, unlike Marikina and Quezon City, there are portions here in Pasig where there's a physical barricade, and these are the sort of orange
Bollards. That's
bollards.
bollards.
The orange bollards, which kind of prevent main traffic from entering the bike lanes. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, that's kind of where I felt the safest
Yeah.
because of that physical
Right,
barrier.
right.
It actually proved very useful on the uphill climb,
Oh yeah.
where again, if you're on a bike and if there weren't any barriers, you'll get edged out. That's
Right.
really you're asking for an accident to
Yeah.
happen.
That's true.
Yeah, kanina coming up to Julia Vargas, struggling bikers, you're struggling to go
Slow
uphill,
pace, and
slow
you're-
pace, and on an open road, as you said, you'd probably be
It's
edged out by
dangerous,
and jeepneys will stop and unload right in front of
Motorcycles.
you, motorcycles, and so at least here with the bollards, they segregate that traffic, and you kind of feel a lot safer. And as you said, Pio, I think Pasig is a work in progress.
Yes.
It seems that of the three cities we passed through today, Marikina and Pasig seem to be very serious about their attempts
Yes.
to create
Yes.
bike lanes for bikers. Quezon City seems to be a patchwork of bike lanes. And in my opinion, patchwork is very dangerous because it encourages people to go out in the bike lanes and then all of a sudden it'll disappear and you're left on your own.
Infrastructure.
Let's talk about that. Can we develop a bike culture? Because if you look at Japan, for example, Tokyo, or a lot of the Western European countries, there is a very strong bike culture. And you see bikes all over the place, and people really use it as a mode of transportation. Here, generally, you don't see people using it unless for economic reasons.
Right.
You'll see a lot of perhaps construction workers or whatnot.
We saw that.
We see a lot of that, and I would say that's probably the bulk of the bike commuters. And then we have people like you who just feel it's more convenient and who've been doing it for decades. If we're going to get more people out on the street, first of all, can we get more people to use bikes as a means of transportation? And if so, what do you think is necessary for that to happen?
Well, my answer to that is we are bike advocates. So by that, we are optimists. So the answer is yes.
Okay.
We are going to build. We are building a bike culture. But when you think about it, 20 years ago and today, there's a huge difference. More and more people are biking right now. Whether
For
it's
commuting or for recreation?
Sometimes most of it is for recreation, I guess, but it spills over to commuting because bike to work is getting some credence right now. it's a cool thing to do.
The bike to work thing. Are you seeing more and more people doing that in the decades that you've been, especially these two?
Compared to 20 years ago, yes.
Yeah. And perhaps you were saying it's a bit of a chicken and egg. Is it because there are more bike commuters that these bike lanes are starting to come up, or is it because these bike lanes are starting to come up that there are more bike commuters?
Actually, there are a lot of factors involved. There's the economic side, like you said, and for some bikers, it's a deliberate choice.
Right.
And you have to, like, I think we had this conversation before, that you have to employ both the nudge technique and the think technique. Like, you have to have strategies to nudge people towards that direction of using their bikes more. And you also have strategies in place to have them think through the whole process and that arrive at a decision that riding a bike makes sense.
As a non bike commuter, I would have lots of concerns. One is the weather. It's very hot and I sweat a lot. So if I'm going to go commute from my house to, let's say, a meeting here in Ortigas or a meeting in Makati, I'm going to arrive really sort of sticky and I'll be in shorts. So that's one concern. Second concern, I think, would be the weather. The other, rain. We have the rainy season, and same thing. So how do we get people to overcome these kinds of concerns?
Well, for me, the thing is, Europeans love the Philippines precisely because of the warm weather. Right? So we must look at our weather in terms of that. And if it rains, well, the human body is designed to be wet from time to time. So
We're waterproof naman, di ba?
yeah, we're waterproof. But the strategies there are to bring, if you're a bike commuter, you bring extra clothes and you have biking clothes. And then you bring an Aquazord towel so you can freshen up before your meeting or before work. There are a lot of strategies to circumvent it.
Courts and I were talking before about perhaps offices also building some infrastructure as well for bike commuters, whether it's parking spaces, showers,
Secure and safe parking
parking.
areas.
That's number one.
Number one.
Number
You
one.
say,
Yes.
Secure and
safe.
secured bikes.
Do you know of any companies that are moving towards that?
Yeah, like we saw Eastwood, right?
Uh-huh.
Their bike racks.
Right.
They
Some
used to
BPOs.
not allow bikers even
Yeah.
in their...
Yeah. A
Really?
few years ago,
Yeah.
bawal ang bikes.
Sa Eastwood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they embrace it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Some BPOs and call centers provide shower facilities.
Right.
Some multinationals, if they have a large compound, they provide those facilities.
Well, hopefully, through this vlog, people who are non-bikers can start considering biking as a means of transportation, not just as a form of recreation.
And it's not a thing that a handful of stakeholders should be involved with. Like, everyone should be hands-on. Like, you have to have MMDA, traffic enforcers, security guards, company owners, the LGU. Everyone should be pitching in and doing their part to make that environment for bikers safe and convenient.
For the viewers who are out there who are not bikers but might be open to biking, what kind of advice would you give them to get them to start?
First is to look for a buddy, a
Okay.
very experienced bike commuter to guide you. Like
Are you available?
I'm
To be a
available.
biking buddy?
When I'm here, not in other places.
So I'd like to thank the three of you again, Pio, Ethel, and Courts, for babysitting me today
thank you for having us.
setting a very good Tito pace.
I think you didn't have any problem with my pace.
No, not at all, not at all. To be honest, I barely broke a sweat, except for this last climb up Julia Vargas. That was the hard part. But it was a good pace, and I didn't die of exhaustion. Okay, thanks, Courts. Thanks, Ethel, and thanks, Pio, for sharing your experiences and your thoughts on this. And hopefully, through this vlog, people can start, both policymakers, individuals can really look at biking as a real form of transportation, not only just recreation, and that the policymakers will serious consideration for the kinds of infrastructure that need to be put in place. So thank you, everyone.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.